So last time, Christina, we talked about making decisions
Hmm.
and we were exploring, and this time we wanted to talk about fitting in,
Yeah.
or
That w-
actually not fitting in, or standing up and showing up for what you want, regardless if you fit in or not.
and what this has to do with empowerment, because this is something what we both discovered in our own lives. And maybe I can start sharing my story.
Sure, go ahead.
So what I discovered this week was that I have sometimes a situation about alcohol, especially, but also with other things, but especially with alcohol, that I have this problem, or this gets always a little serious when I'm on a party or somewhere and I have to say, no, I don't want to drink. And I already transfer this insecureness. I think that's why people ask me questions. And then I
Mm,
feel like, why do I have to justify that right now?
mm.
But I just could very confidently say no. And I know from the past that I mean, I don't want to say that it's not about alcohol in general. I mean, everyone can do what they want to do. I don't want to have a moral talk here, but it's more
Not very
don't
empowering.
do that. As an avatar master, you don't drink. No, you can do what you want as an avatar master. But in the past, I very often drank with the people around me to be polite, because I thought it's so unpolite to say I no thank you.
And you
And
actually did not enjoy it when you were polite and you were drinking.
no, but I even couldn't enjoy it when I would have said no. So it actually wouldn't have any difference. It had more to do with myself
Mm.
than with the others. And I can feel that empowerment would be, or I would feel empowered if I could have stand up and say, listen, that's what I want. That's who I am. I don't want that. That's my life. And don't explain it so much and just stand there with what I want. And
And
maybe it
likely,
could, yeah.
yeah, well, likely when you would get questions, likely you would get fewer questions of why not and why are you not drinking with us? I mean, I know that for a fact that oftentimes, hey, come on, be fun, have some drinks with us. But oftentimes also you get fewer questions because it's just clear what you
Yeah.
want.
Yeah. I was not clear at all, I think.
Yeah, and that transfers and that does something to people because
Mm.
people also have another intention. And of course, if their idea of enjoyment is to have fun and have drinks together and they feel some space with you that they can, yeah, sort of get you there, that's
Yeah.
nice for them, but
I
it's
think
not
I
what
have
you
this.
want.
No, and I think it's not about alcohol. I think I have it with cake too, or with I don't know anything. I even had it with saying that I want to go home. Oh,
Mm,
so unpolite. Yeah, just stay another hour because they
yeah,
just came and we just came together. So that's with a lot of stuff. I mean, and this is not really standing up for your own um values, or I don't know. And I
yeah,
think if we don't start with it, it's also not easy for the others. Maybe somebody else would say, oh, I feel the same, or I want this, or I want
yeah,
this. I think it's also very empowering for others to see that you can say what you want to say and be
yeah,
accepted.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, agreed. And that there's no making the others wrong, that they drink alcohol in this case, or maybe whatever, maybe you want something else. I agree. I think it's then other people can also become honest. I mean, if we are honest with ourselves. And for me, sometimes that's not even that I do this or I don't do that, but sometimes it's also sharing just honestly where I am with something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it may not be clear yet for me, but then it's still like an ongoing process that I share honestly, and that's where I stand for.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I am clear about. But when I'm not, I know that tendency also in myself that I want to fit in
Mm-hmm.
and I want people to like me. And then I start sort of mincing my words and going a little bit around it. And people are like, so what is he saying? And of course they don't think that, but that's what I communicate. Am I clear?
Yeah, that's what they
People.
perceive in that moment. Like,
That's what they perceive.
we do that very often in life. We also experience that
Yeah,
with other people, that you hear the words, but they don't match to the feeling you
right.
get from it. And then
Yeah,
you are in your head because you think
yeah,
something's wrong there. I don't know exactly what's going on, but
yeah.
that fixed
Right.
attention for other people. That's right.
Yeah, and what I found very empowering, it's really not about the words. And
Mm.
I come from a sales background, so using a right tonation or a body language or words, that's always been very emphasized. But what I discovered doing Avatar, it's a lot more about the feel actually behind it. And I was always confused, but I'm enthusiastic. Why don't they buy my dot dot dot? But I wasn't believing in it. I wasn't actually showing up and standing for, but I was still trying to fit in with the sales group or with the people that I was trying to sell to. And this can be in sales, but I also noticed it within my friends that I did that.
Mm. Yeah.
And what was interesting is that now I've become, I eat vegetarian and I have no problem with it at all. So when people eat meat, no problem. I say I'm vegetarian. And then when they ask, I'm like, yeah, no, this and this is why. And it's very calm. It's not charged at all. But then in other situations where I am responsible for guiding a group and I notice the energy is lower than what I would like it to be, and I'm not too sure of how to handle it, I sort of sometimes cower back in myself. And this goes pretty unconsciously, but I go into this fitting in mode and sort of try to vibe with them instead of actually speaking up what I genuinely notice.
So it takes courage to speak up.
I think so.
Yeah. And the courage brings empowerment back. Huh?
I think so. Yeah. So the courage to feel like, oh, what am I noticing? And then what do I want to do with this? Like at least acknowledge that it's there. That would be a good first step for me, I think.
I can remember so many parties or coffee chats or family events where I was happy that it was over. And I think I really missed the opportunity to speak up what's actually going on or how I was really doing honestly. And maybe I could have had a better time in the rest too.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have also an example where you have done that and that was actually because I think a lot of times, and before you are courageous, there's also this fear, there's this like, oh, but what if I do that? What will happen then? And have you also had positive experiences expressing something like that?
I can't go so much into detail, but I have a situation in my mind where I did that and I speaked up and I was fearful and I had no idea if I crashed at all. That's always the feel, like you crash it all and then it gets worse.
Yeah.
And it has also a feeling of that it's not anymore under your control. What is interesting, because becoming honest has a lot of to do with losing control. Because
Right.
I mean, sometimes we say certain things in a way because we want to steer the other person in that area, or that they don't ask that, so we answer that. And you can't do that if you're honest. You just say something and you don't know what's going to happen on the other side. I mean, and I thought the world will explode, and it didn't, fortunately. And it turned out, it turned out to something what brought the whole group forward into something where we never have talked about, and it helped everyone to become honest too. And in the end, the mood and the whole atmosphere was like clear air, relaxed. But it took me courage. I mean, I know I need to do it not only once, but I think that's the world I want to live in, where people are like that.
Where you can express that and that. Yeah. And I think that while I'm listening to you, what I'm realizing, like many times I find out about this after the fact, like, so I drive back home or from a work opportunity or from a situation, and I'm like, I feel drained in that. And I'm like, what was going on?
What is
But
drained? It's like pulled down?
yeah, like pulled down, not having a lot of energy
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
And so what is going on? And but what I find very empowering is that there's always second chances.
Mm.
So I mean, maybe not when you break the whole thing, but usually you don't. Well, that's the fear, but usually we don't break the whole thing. And then we can just talk to that person honestly, coming back to this situation. What I find is this is my experience, and I've noticed you can actually still, even though it's after the fact, still move forward from there.
Right. And even breaking something could be a good break. I mean, does not mean that nothing can grow out of it.
Right. But maybe breaking a situation like
yeah,
how it was.
It was maybe it was supposed to break, and you only speeded it up to save energy or for everyone.
Yeah.
So
right. And sometimes for breakups in the past, I know whenever someone's broken up with me, for example, I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
And secretly I was like, yeah, this is a good thing.
But do you know what I just realized is that we have a misunderstanding of this kindness, that we use kindness sometimes to avoiding speaking the truth.
Right.
But we could use kindness really as kindness.
Yeah. Actually being kind, not being polite, but actually being kind.
Yeah. In another context or so. And maybe sometimes we react on kindness with mistrust or with suspicion or so, because it got used so often for something else to, I say the bad word manipulate. I don't think that we do it always deliberately, but in a way we do it. But this true kindness where you really actually have no agenda behind, it's just kindness. I mean, that's also good to practice. It would be also empowerment.
Very empowering, because I know that when I'm honestly coming from kindness, it's very easy to say tough things. The tough things are not that tough anymore because it's coming from a good place, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, that's a very hard ground we touched this episode, I must say. But it's an important one, huh?
I think so too. I think so too. Good to keep exploring together.
I think so too.
Thanks everybody for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening. See you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.